It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We take your emails as well. I read and respond to every one at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Today, we're talking short-term rentals, Airbnbs, Verbos, places that you rent, but for a very short time. Hence, a short-term rental. My question to you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is this: do you have a problem with short-term rentals in your neighborhood? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. I'd also love to talk to anybody that is using one of their properties as a short-term rental. 800-222-KABC. Why? Because there is a neighborhood in the Bay Area that is very representative of some of the battles that go on in beach towns all throughout Southern California, where there's one house that is designated for short-term rentals, and all the neighbors hate it because they keep throwing parties. For more on the battle lines in Pacifica, a beach town south of San Francisco, here is KPIX.
A familiar fight. It's playing out in Pacifica. Neighbors are taking sides over short-term rentals and whether they help or hurt the community. And now the city council, well, it's set to weigh in. Our Kevin Coe with the story.
I just knew that I wanted this to be my forever home.
Caitlin Quinn bought her Pacifica home on Beach Boulevard 7 years ago.
And our dream home morphed into a nightmare.
Oh, no, Caitlin. That's usually what the news editors say. Did you come up with that yourself? Oh, my goodness. All right. Let's see how her dream home situation turned into a nightmare because of short-term rental neighbors.
And our dream home morphed into a nightmare.
Caitlin and her partner Patrick say they've dealt with disturbances from Airbnb guests next door.
They stand here and smoke, so we had to install this sign. I have a medical...
She's got a sign on her wall next to her neighbor's house that says, "Please don't smoke here." Yeah, that's got to be a little irritating. But even if you had a long-term renter or someone who bought the house, I mean, it's outside. They could smoke outside, but no, she don't like it. But, you know, that's a very small complaint. We've heard some of the major ones. I mean, you got those houses in the Hollywood Hills that get rented out for Airbnb parties, and people are renting out lions. Yes, lions. Why? I don't know. Never been invited to one of those parties.
This sign, I have a medical condition that's exacerbated by cigarette smoke.
There's also the unsorted trash and improper use of their utilities.
These Airbnbers don't know how to separate the organic waste from the recycling waste. And, okay, this neighbor might just be a little bit of a busybody.
There's also the unsorted trash and improper use of their utilities.
We've also had guests use our water, help themselves to it.
Yeah, there's a little spigot on the outside of her house, and for some reason the Airbnbers use that. Maybe to clean off their feet from the sand, I don't know, but she don't like it.
I hate having these signs. I mean, what homeowner would want those on their home?
Through all the signs, there's...
Okay, those are some legitimate complaints. It's definitely frustrating. I don't know if I would use those three things as the example of it is a nightmare. But you know what? Everyone's perspective is different on that. For her, people smoking cigarettes, not sorting the trash properly, and occasionally turning on her water spout is nightmarish. My question to you at 800-222-KABC is this: do you have a problem with short-term rentals in your neighborhood? 800-222-5222. Love to talk to anyone who does one of these Airbnbs as a host. 800-222-KABC.
There's one that sticks out because Caitlin's home isn't the only one with it.
This is a new one. This is there's a resident coalition called Pacifica Homes Are Not Hotels. People who are suffering the challenges of living next door to these unhosted short-term rentals.
She's got a coalition. She's got a group. They are activated. They're going to City Hall. They want to make sure that we stop allowing these short-term rentals in Pacifica because she doesn't care for the candor and the attitude of these short-term renters. They don't have any skin in the game. They're treating it like a hotel, and we don't like it. I got to say, as somebody that has stayed at a lot and somebody that has stayed at a lot of Airbnbs, there are positives, there are negatives. I got to tell you, when I went to Puerto Rico, half of the trip was at a hotel in San Juan, and that place was great. Loved it. Half of it was at an Airbnb in Joyuta, which is on the west side of Puerto Rico. And there were some things about this house that were pretty incredible, like the fact that it was right on the water. There was a dock right outside of the house. You could jump into the ocean. It was gorgeous. It came with all this pool equipment, this swimming equipment and beach chairs, and it was great. However, the west side of Puerto Rico and most of Puerto Rico has a lot of problems with power outages. And so most of the houses are on generators. And the first night we were there was a power outage and there was nobody around to turn on the generator. And I guess the generator's supposed to turn on by itself and it broke and there was nobody on site to fix the broken generator. And let's just say this was at the end of May. And that house got real hot real fast. We got to a point where we were about to abandon the place and be like, you got to give us our money back. We can't stay here. They did get it fixed. And it only broke again like 2 more times throughout the stay. But other than that, it was a great time.
You'll find the signs in other neighborhoods, like Lila Renero's.
We frequently have people pulling into our driveway, trying to get into our house. And, I used to be able to feel comfortable not locking our doors, but it's, I feel like it's a matter of time before somebody tries to check in late at night.
I would still say you should lock your doors, just regardless. But, yes. Long-term neighbors rob you too, but short-term neighbors might be more likely. Sure.
And it could be a much bigger issue.
She lives with her husband, Brian, and their 3 kids. They say they face loud parties, unruly behavior, and safety concerns from the short-term rental next door.
With these parties,
I did go to an Airbnb party in Malibu once with my old group of stoner friends. And yeah, I can imagine that we were loud, we were disruptive. There were massive plumes of pot smoke. We probably pissed off a lot of neighbors there. Although that specific area in Malibu, I don't know if anyone actually lived there or they were all second homes and short-term rentals and no one was actually residing there at the time, which sometimes happens, which is another legitimate criticism of the short-term rental model in that there is a lot of housing that's not being used by long-term renters, by buyers, that then increases the price of all the rest of the housing.
She lives with her husband, Brian, and their 3 kids. They say they face loud parties, unruly behavior, and safety concerns from the short-term rental next door.
with these parties occurring, is that even a safe option for my daughter to be alone here in the house? We're sacrificing other people's ability to be part of this community for sake of somebody else's profits that really don't contribute back to the local economy.
How dare these owners of these homes that instead of living there part-time or full-time are renting it out weekend by weekend by weekend by weekend to people that don't respect our neighborhood. This guy's not going to stand for it.
That really don't contribute back to the local economy.
It's definitely not, this crazy cash flow thing that we also, that people think.
Wayne used to live in Pacifica, but a family emergency forced him to move to Oakland.
Oh, no. Talk about tragedy on top of tragedy. You had some family issue, and to top it off, you had to move to Oakland?
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
But a family emergency forced him to move to Oakland. He says he's using the money from his only STR to pay his mortgage and property taxes.
We do want to
So he has to live somewhere else. He doesn't want to sell his house. So in order to be able to still pay the mortgage, pay the property taxes, pay the home insurance, he's renting it out, but not long term because he doesn't know, maybe he might get to come back. I give that guy a pass. That guy makes a legitimate situation, but of course that's not what usually is going on here. It's people buy homes on the beach. They don't want to live on the beach 24/7. They've got busier lives. Maybe they want to live in the city, and they would like to make a little money on that property when they're not living there. Otherwise, that money's just going down the drain. Although I'm sure there are enough irritations of being an Airbnb host that it probably isn't necessarily always worth it. Maybe it is. Then they got these management companies that take 30%, but they handle everything for you. And Airbnb got to a point where they get real sticklers about You better put out all the trash. You better fold all the blankets. You got to do the laundry. Like, this doesn't feel like a hotel anymore. But I guess it's not supposed to. But then Airbnb is completely deviated from what the original model was supposed to be, which was, oh, I got a spare bedroom. You want to come and hang out with us? People didn't take them up on that. When people are on vacation, they don't want to stay in a stranger's spare bedroom most of the time.
We do want to come back one day once this whole family situation kind of clears up. But having the short-term rental allows us that flexibility to do that. And I'm not sure, with this removal, if they do decide to ban unhosted STRs, I don't know. I actually have no idea. I don't know what we'll end up having to do at the end of the day.
You will have to sell that house in Pacifica, most likely, or come back from Oakland and live there.
There's no place for bad hosts. There's no place for party Airbnbs.
Alex also owns a STR in Pacifica and lives 20 minutes away. He's hoping to find a middle ground where STR owners can work with neighbors instead of banning unhosted STRs overall.
And if that happens, then this turns into what is effectively a fight for fair and equitable access to the beach.
Okay, I don't know where you're going with this.
We host countless families. Could you imagine you're a family staying in an Airbnb, following all the rules, excited about a trip to the beach and going to tide pools, and then seeing what effectively amounts to a xenophobic, outsider-averse message saying you're not welcome here?
Well, it's a public beach. No one's stopping you from going to the beach. What the neighbors having is a legitimate concern is that these houses are supposed to be for neighbors and you're renting it out to God knows who every week. I don't know if I would call that xenophobic. It's just irritating. You know what I've learned from this piece? Everyone on every side of this issue, except for the guy that has to go move to Oakland for a little while, is kind of an a-hole.
But effectively amounts to a xenophobic, outsider-averse message saying you're not welcome here.
It's a clash between the character of Pacifica neighborhoods, housing, and house guests in this scenic coastal community. It's up to City Council to decide where all the signs are pointing to.
All right, so for a little perspective, a city staff report found complaints about short-term rentals represented 0.02% of all complaints from last year.
It seems like the residents of Pacifica have a lot of other things on their mind, but that 0.2%, those people are really, really, really loud. Look, it can be a divisive issue because, well, sometimes these short-term rentals pop up right next to your house. How comfortable are you with that? My question to you, especially people that are out there in these beach communities, maybe you're in the hills. If you've got one of these in your neighborhood, is it a problem for you? Do you mind? Are you bothered by short-term rentals in your neighborhood? Or is everyone complaining in this story just overreacting? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You know, it'd also be fun. Sometimes I don't even realize I get to this point, but as we all heard the story about Pacifica, California, who's the bigger a-hole in the story? The woman who's mad that the Airbnb guests won't sort out the recycling properly, or the Airbnb host that claims that if you don't let him rent Airbnbs out on the beach, it's xenophobia. Who's the bigger a-hole in that story? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. I would love to know, but if you got an opinion on all this, give me a call at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you happen to be an Airbnb host, love to talk to you. Verbo too. I don't know why we only use Airbnb. Verbo, I think, was a thing before Airbnb. But give me a call, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Are short-term rentals a problem for your neighborhood? 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. There's a battle brewing in Northern California over short-term rentals, Airbnbs and VRBOs. You have some residents, like this woman, who have to put up no smoking signs and signs that the guests are not sorting out the recycling properly.
We've also had guests use our water, help themselves to it. I hate having these signs. I mean, what homeowner would want those on their home?
And on the other end, you have Airbnb hosts who claim that if they're not allowed to rent out their houses to travelers, it's xenophobic.
We host countless families. Could you imagine you're a family staying in an Airbnb, following all the rules, excited about a trip to the beach and going to tide pools, and then seeing what effectively amounts to a xenophobic, outsider-averse message saying you're not welcome here? And
I'd love to hear from you at 800-222-KABC. Do you have a problem with short-term rentals in your neighborhood? If you're a short-term rental host, if you own a short-term rental, I'd love to hear what that experience is like. And as a little bonus, who's the bigger a-hole in that story? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Sherry in L.A. Sherry, hello.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. So we had a house, or we still do, across the street that was renting out bedrooms. So after a while, there were weirdos there. I called our neighborhood cop, and he said, well, be really careful, because what happens with those are people come there, they rent out a bedroom for 3-4 days, they watch to see what time the neighbors leave for work, and then they call their friends to come over and rob your house.
I mean, if you're looking to case a neighborhood, that would be the perfect way to do it.
Yeah, because after 3 or 4 days, you're gone.
Especially summertime, they can figure out when people are packing up for the long weekends and the vacations. They can figure out who exactly has security, who doesn't have security. I mean, if you're a prospecting criminal, that is a good way to figure out all the information you need about who to rob in a certain neighborhood.
Well, that's what the police said, so they know. And it was also a problem because we don't have a lot of parking, and then they're bringing 4 more cars to park on the street where you only have 1 spot per house anyway. So, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue. Thanks so much for the call, Sherry. Appreciate it. That's an issue with short-term rentals and long-term rentals. And as we talked about a few weeks ago, anybody that's getting an ADU going in, part of the pushback from neighborhoods is, where's all the cars going to go? 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Kevin in Long Beach. Kevin, hello.
Hello. How you doing?
Doing great.
Oh, right on, Randy. Hey, yeah. So I've got a friend that has an Airbnb up in the mountains out here in Southern California. It's a super nice area, and she Airbnbs her place, but one of her neighbors is such a hoarder that most of her Airbnb guests call and want refunds and complain.
Oh my goodness. That's pretty wild. So it's just clutterfest inside there.
Yeah, so there's a flip side to it.
Yeah, you're not going to get a 5-star review if you've got that much stuff in your place. Kevin, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Although, that's probably a host that's going to be like, no, you don't have to make the place spotless before you leave and also pay the $200 cleaning fee. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Mark in Altadena. Mark, hello.
Hey, Randy, great show. Yeah, I own several Airbnbs up in the Eastern Sierra area, and getting an Airbnb permit, you have to go through hoops. It's very, very difficult. The county of the area where they get 12% of the Airbnb fee. Airbnb gets 3%. Then I have an on-site property manager who gets 15%. And that's the way to do it, is to have somebody there to make sure you don't get the undesirables there. But it's in a location where it's a very tourism, family-oriented area. So I think a lot of it's very subjective, but being an Airbnb or an STR owner is extremely difficult. My personal home, I have a permit to do that as well, but I haven't done that yet. And I just think that it depends on where the location is and what your setup is, and it depends on you yourself. I have a full-time property manager, and I pay him as well. So it's a lot of work, but I think it is, again, very subjective to where it is. And, if you get into some of the LA City areas, it can be a big party fest, Newport Beach, areas like that where, people set your beach chairs on fire. So it can be very subjective, but it's tough either way. And I understand the issues with people that are in the local neighborhoods as well. So it's a balancing act, right? It all depends on the individual. But thanks for your call, and I'll listen for your answer. Thank you, Randy.
Well, thanks so much for the call, Mark. Appreciate it. Boy, there are a lot of costs that go into that. You know, before you even get to some semblance of a profit, you're paying 30% to the property manager. You're paying 12% to the city. Airbnb's taking a cut. Everyone's taking a cut. No wonder it's so expensive to rent a house these days. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Do you have an issue with Airbnbs in your neighborhood? If you're a short-term rental owner, I'd love to talk to you. And who's the bigger a-hole in Pacifica? The guy who claims if he's not allowed to rent a short-term rental, it's xenophobia? Or the lady who puts up signs that the guests next door aren't sorting their recycling right? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We take your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. This week has been declared Overdose Prevention Awareness Week. Is that it? Overdose Awareness Week, where we all need to be aware of just how many people are overdosing on the streets. This is a problem that is acute in Los Angeles. It's a problem in San Francisco and a lot of other major cities, not just in this country, but one of the bigger cities in Canada has been dealing with this crisis for a long time. And the reporters in the Bay Area decided to learn what exactly they've been doing right and what they've been doing wrong in Vancouver. And since LA learns everything right or wrong from what San Francisco did, why don't we just take a step ahead, find out what Vancouver's doing wrong, and try to not do it? For more, here's KPIX.
This last week of August is Overdose Awareness Week, an international campaign to address a truly international crisis. And when we talk about overdoses, we're often talking about San Francisco, where 806 people died last year.
Yeah, in LA, it was a lot more than that. I mean, if it's 8 a day, and that's what the number is right now in LA County, 7 to 8 a day, let's go low. Let's say it was 7. Times 365. Yeah, that's over 2,500 people a day that are dying of overdoses.
Well, this week, we are taking the time to look at the crisis through the lens of another city. It is a West Coast city famous for its incredible natural beauty, diverse culture, and cosmopolitan living. In fact,
hold on. If I stop the story right there, am I just going to think about, hey, maybe I should take a trip to Vancouver? It's only a 3-hour flight. It's apparently beautiful there. But unfortunately, we have to listen to this rest of this story, which will tell me why I shouldn't go to Vancouver. Although I really want to. All the pictures, it looks gorgeous. I've never been to Canada.
In fact, it's often cited as one of the more desirable places to live in the world. And Vancouver, much like San Francisco, has become one of the epicenters of the drug crisis. They are separated by more than 900 miles, but in both cities, fentanyl has been the primary driver of the overdose surge over the past 10 years. But Vancouver and British Columbia have responded differently, using approaches we often just hear about here in the United States. So what can we learn from their experience? Well, this week, we take a look in our special series, Overdose Crisis, Lessons from Vancouver. Our Wilson Walker traveled up north and brings us part 1.
All right, let's find out what Vancouver is doing to combat their fentanyl overdose crisis. And maybe we can learn something before we enact it ourselves, because we are not an island. Every idea we've tried, someone else has already tried.
But like I said, I've been here long, far too long. Nobody's alive from when I started my addiction. Not one person. Not one.
20. Isn't it amazing how people in the throes of addiction have a similar accent, whether they're in America or Canada?
20 years Jeffrey Brocklesby has spent in the streets and alleys of Vancouver's downtown east side. Everyone he knew when he started here, all lost to the very same gamble.
20 years of languishing on the streets? Oh boy, that kid's made of tough stock.
So there's crystal meth in there, and fentanyl, Hopefully that's what it is.
He admits that he's surprised that he's still alive, having been pulled into the crisis that will look very recognizable to San Franciscans.
This is Main and Hastings, a.k.a. Pain and Wastings. It's ground zero for the poverty in the city.
Okay, if you decide to take a trip to Vancouver, stay away from Main and Hastings.
I've watched everything happen down here. I've watched the streets evolve. When it was heroin down here, it was very quiet. This is new stuff. This is new with the fentanyl. It's everywhere now.
So fentanyl changed the street.
Fentanyl changed the lifestyle. It's wiped out a whole f***ing generation.
Oh, my.
We didn't even have a choice, you know? We were doing heroin, and slowly but surely we started tasting something different about it.
Yeah, oh, there. Okay, we got it. He's Canadian.
Slowly but surely we started tasting something different about it.
See, these heroin addicts who have been around for 20 years, they were used to what they were getting. And then those cheap dealers decided to start stepping on it with this synthetic crap that's way more dangerous. How dare they?
People dropping left and right. Oh, now there's a crisis. Everybody's dying.
Fentanyl took hold in Vancouver around 2014, and overdose numbers more than doubled in 2 years as the downtown east side became an emergency room.
Okay, Vancouver lesson number 2. Stay out of the downtown east side. Let me go to the northwest side. Where's the hiking at?
So this is our, hey guys, these guys are out here just in case there's an overdose in the area.
Immediately we'd grab our Narcan, we grab our oxygen tank, and we're gone.
It's the community helping each other and itself.
Sarah Blythe is executive director of the Van City Overdose Prevention Society, but back in 2016, she was managing a street market on Hastings.
Since we were outside, we were, more and more people would run to us with an overdose. So basically, we just set up exactly this, a tent, table, and chair, and said, this is a health emergency. I don't care what any level of government says.
At the time...
So, is this a place where you've got Narcan, or is this something worse?
At the time, Vancouver did have one official safe injection site.
Oh, no. This is where we're going with this story. San Francisco has tried this. It did not go well. There are still officials in San Francisco that want to keep going with it. And guess who in Los Angeles has been pushing for safe injection sites? That's right, Babs.
No, thank you.
Barbara Ferrer. Unfortunately, they're illegal in the state of California, but she would like them. She thinks they would solve the problem.
I have a hard time understanding logic.
And this is why I'm really interested in this story. I follow a lot of people in the recovery influencer world, like Tom Wolfe up in San Francisco. We've had him on John's show. And Vancouver and British Columbia, they're changing a lot of their rules right now. They're realizing a lot of their mistakes with this harm reduction stuff. So that's why it's very interesting to see a city just as developed as we are in a different part of the world that has already been through this nonsense. So we don't need to do it ourselves.
At the time, Vancouver did have one official safe injection site, and Blythe effectively forced them to open more by opening her own.
We're doing the Good Samaritan Act by saving people. We're not going to allow people, no one's going to sit there and watch people die.
And so in 2016, the government of BC issued an emergency ministerial order telling health authorities that we could operate overdose prevention sites despite them being illegal in Canada.
And they say overdose prevention, but what it means is somebody will monitor you as you stick that needle in your arm.
In the 8 years,
and we'll probably give you a clean needle.
In the 8 years since the emergency was declared, BC has leaned into the idea with dozens of sites. Dr. Mark Lecision is Chief Medical Officer for Vancouver Coastal Health.
But now, as people have transitioned into inhalation, we're offering supervised injection and supervised inhalation, but they have to be indoor.
Wait, okay, so not only can you inject yourself safely, but if you want to smoke the fentanyl, you want to smoke the fentanyl with a little meth, with a little trank in there, we'll give you the pipe, we'll give you the foil. This is what we're doing in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Little paraphernalia kits with the little spoon, with the foil. Vancouver did this already, and it's not working out too well for them. We'll continue here as we look to the ghost of Christmas future. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Adam in Huntington Beach. Adam, hello.
Hey, Randy. Hey, we have made everything safe in this world for stupid men. We've made cars safe. We've made motorcycles safe. We've made construction safe. We've made saws safe. We have done everything we possibly can in this world to prevent stupid men from killing themselves. Tell you what, let's not make this safer. Just don't make it safer. Let them have this.
It's a fair point. Why do we need to be making hard drugs safer to use when they're not really safe at all? As a medical professional, I'm sure you know that they are not safe whatsoever.
Just let people die. God and Mother Nature are making more stupid men. Just let them go. If they want to do it, let's not stand in their way. Stop it. We're all complaining about the stupid men in the world. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting a stupid man. Each of us knows a stupid man in our place of work. But on a serious note, really, just let's not make this safe. Just don't. Just don't. Just let them go.
There you go, Adam. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Everyone knows a stupid man in their office. What if it's me? Nah, I'm pretty smart. 790 KABC welcomes Joni Mitchell, the Asylum albums from 1976 to 1980. The 4-CD set is out now with newly remastered versions and liner notes by Meryl Streep. Right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets the 4-CD set of Joni Mitchell, the Asylum albums, and qualifies for the 6-LP box set. This prize is furnished by Rhino.com. Good luck dialing. When we come back, we'll get back to how Vancouver's dealing with their fentanyl crisis. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to KPIX and how Vancouver deals with their fentanyl crisis.
Outdoor sites.
Treatment services are also offered on site.
Go through substance use stabilization, or what we used to call detox.
Oh, see, I like that. See, we have in Los Angeles and parts of San Francisco the harm reduction without the treatment. Because we have to meet people where they are.
Treatment services are also offered on site.
Go through substance use stabilization, or what we used to call detox.
But the primary focus is mitigating the risk presented by the unpredictable street supply.
We're all rolling dice. It's not fentanyl anymore. We're doing trank and benzos.
Trank is a animal tranquilizer used in veterinary hospitals, and benzos is Xanny bars. Mixing opiates and benzos together is usually how people die. I remember that very specifically from many years of listening to Dr. Drew.
And benzos.
As an alternative, British Columbia also provides drugs regulated by the government, referred to as safe supply.
Okay, here's the idea that we haven't tried yet, that San Francisco hasn't tried yet, that Vancouver has, and we better not. A safe supply. So at least you know the fentanyl that you're getting is fentanyl and not stepped on with xylazine. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
We've seen sort of the risks that can come from unregulated drugs, and we know people use them. And so we legalize them and we make regulated versions, and then people don't immediately die when they consume them.
Yeah, but can you live a constructive life and be able to hold down a job if you're even doing legal fentanyl, legal heroin, legal meth? I don't know. People can live a constructive life doing weed occasionally. There's probably plenty of people living a constructive life that do a little coke on the weekends. But the hard drugs? I don't know. All of the ravers are interesting because you know who goes to raves? A lot of really, really, really smart college kids. They only party on the weekend. They don't like to drink, and they go real hard with the E. And sometimes the E has the meth in it. They know how to separate. Well, some of them do. But then they get so many holes in their head, they're not good at math anymore.
Here I am. I got fentanyl on my back as much as I hate it.
Todd Allgood, who has a back injury, receives 2 medications.
I go to the IO twice a day for my half gram of heroin, and that kills the pain.
We know this helps people.
Aren't there other non-addictive painkillers or better ways? Oh, boy. See, I'm glad that they're doing this series up in the Bay Area, and then I hope we all learn from it. There are so many ideas that we start to try as pilot programs that have been tried that are terrible. Later in the week, they're going to get to some of the results of some of these programs, and it shall be fascinating. Hey, thank y'all so much for tuning in, being a part of the show, calling in, emailing. I love doing this every single day. If you miss any episode of the show, you can get us at kabc.com/newsblitz. Search the Apple Podcast app for the KABC News Blitz. See you tomorrow at 5 for another News Blitz on KABC.